So this video was supposed to be done last night, but I went drinking instead. So, fan interaction on a Saturday. Bam! What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with this month's incarnation of fan answers. At the beginning of the month, I asked you, I said we have a new champion in Seth Rollins after WrestleMania. Who do you want his next contender to be? And I gave you the three top options that I thought made the most sense off the top of my head, and the various reasons why: Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton. I asked you guys, out of those three, who makes the most sense? And I love when I do these. I don't just get answers; I get lots of explanation and a lot of great ideas going forward. Creatively from you guys, rather than a simple yes, no, ABC answer, which is fucking fantastic. So without further ado, let's get into some of your answers. Logan Claiborne said, Reigns was pinned, so he's at the bottom of the list. I would say Lesnar because he should be the #1 contender, but he's suspended, and I would much rather see that rematch at SummerSlam when Lesnar comes back as a red-hot face. Orton is the logical and smart decision, plus the match will be good considering their history. Orton versus Rollins has been hinted at strongly for Extreme Rules, and for a match with no rules is pretty much for a match with no rules, and that's pretty much exactly what this rivalry needs. I'd like to see Orton versus Rollins at Extreme Rules, and then again at Payback, with Rollins retaining both times and end their rivalry for now. I realize you didn't include these people, but for future feuds for Rollins, I would love to see him rehash his what the hell does that say? Rehash his rivalry with Ambrose, and Ziggler would be a good match as well. Even an Intercontinental versus World Heavyweight Championship match with Daniel Bryan would be fantastic. I see Rollins feuding with Orton first, and then Reigns, and then having a match with Lesnar at SummerSlam. You hit on a lot of good points there. You really do. Storyline-wise, obviously, like, a lot of things have developed since I asked you guys this question. Reigns was pinned, so he should go down to the bottom of the list. That's, I guess, true in theory, but I guess the counteraction to that would be the argument that, well, maybe he shouldn't be champion because he pinned Reigns and Reigns wasn't the champion at the time. And the argument you could make, again, is that Reigns had earned a one-on-one title shot and that was taken from him. So he could use that argument to sort of stay in the mix. Lesnar being suspended until SummerSlam is fucking great. Gives us a chance to miss him, and it gives SummerSlam a great, big, feel-good, I hate to quote Michael Cole on this, but it gives it the big fight feel. So you want Orton going forward, and I think that's fantastic, because what we got at WrestleMania was a preview of what a great match these guys can have before we threw the title into the mix. I mean, a lot of people are still talking about their match from WrestleMania. A lot of people mostly are talking about the finish, which is negated now because the curb stomp isn't a thing anymore. But hey, we've got the Buckle Bomb and the Phoenix Splash and the idea that Rollins is going to RKO Randy Orton. So that's great going forward. Yeah, Orton's not going to get the belt, for sure. So have him have a couple runs with Orton, who's pretty legit and pretty established as far as the title picture is concerned. So if you can show consistent victory over somebody like Randy Orton, you make him more convincing for the match that we know, or we can at least assume, is coming up for SummerSlam. Now, I won't, as much as you have here, I won't exactly write Reigns out of the title picture, because I think he should be involved. Before he got the win at the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns was kind of hovering around the world title picture, but not exactly in it. I think he does good in that position. I think, him fighting the Big Show is a step down that he didn't need to take. But overall, yeah, Orton going forward as a building mechanism towards something greater is fantastic. The future feuds that you mentioned in here, and I know this wasn't part of the question, but you went on and you embellished and added some more stuff here, so I will respond to that as well. Rehashing the rivalry with Ambrose is great. I think that the rivalry they had, A, it didn't get the respect it needed from the crowd, and B, it didn't nearly get a chance to be what it could have been from WWE Creative. So yeah, of course, rehash that. Ziggler has a good match with anybody, and you want to create a whole sort of Hogan Warrior world title, IC title type of thing between Rollins and Daniel Bryan. It would be fantastic. Of course, we know recently Daniel Bryan has once again become very injury prone. So after this weekend, I don't know that he will be the Intercontinental Champion anymore. But as a theory, I think it would be fucking a spectacular spectacle. Problem with a match like that is I don't think either belt will be on the line, because I don't think WWE is going to have one person hold the IC and World titles. So you'd have a great match, and the focal point would be the fact that look at these two champions, but at the same time you take away from that prestige by neither one of those belts being on the line. But they're all very interesting scenarios. The Zohan says, I see all three of these guys getting title shots in the very near future. In a perfect world, Lesnar would get a shot first, but because he's suspended, he won't get an opportunity until SummerSlam. I see Orton getting the first shot, and then a triple threat, including Reigns and Orton. Orton gets dropped, and we get Rollins versus Reigns then at SummerSlam. We get Rollins versus Lesnar in the storyline. Lesnar deserves the first shot, but because he's going to sit his ass out on the sidelines until August, they'll drag out Orton versus Rollins versus Reigns until July, and then maybe we'll see a Shield triple threat at some point. I don't think we're going to get Rollins versus Reigns at SummerSlam. I think we're going to get that before then. The triple threat that you hinted at has already been leaked, spoiled, rumored, whatever, for the next pay-per-view after Extreme Rules, which I think is Payback. I would have to check the calendar. Orton is the match that we're getting right now. We know that. Like, Orton going forward to be the first contender makes sense, because he beat... It's a little loose, I know. But he beat the champion the same night that he became champion, and there's a long-standing storyline in wrestling where when you beat the champion, you become the #1 contender. So it's a little loose, but the logic still kind of works. And as I said, we saw them have a great match at WrestleMania. Now you throw the title into the mix, and it makes it even more prestigious. Reigns, I think we will get... in that triple threat match at Payback, Reigns will somehow get screwed in the match. Either one or both of them will give him a low blow or something like that, because triple threat matches are no disqualification. We will get Reigns versus Rollins. Rollins is going to steamroll over Reigns. The YWC will be happy about this because of their unnecessary hatred for Roman Reigns, and that will be the jumping block for Rollins versus Lesnar at SummerSlam. Rollins versus Lesnar at SummerSlam is almost one of those, like... As far as the world title is concerned, nothing really matters until SummerSlam, because the big rumor is that he will face Lesnar at SummerSlam. The feeling is, until we get to SummerSlam, nobody really believes Rollins is going to lose the belt. So it's more a case of who's he fighting until then, who's he, keeping time up with. It's very similar to when John Cena was about to fight The Rock, so they gave him a filler feud in the middle with Kane that we knew didn't mean anything. Whatever he does with Orton, regardless of the fact that the matches will be great, whatever he does with Roman, and people will shit on it, obviously, as was said before, you throw in somebody like a Ziggler, or you throw in somebody like an Ambrose, or whatever, it'll all be great matches, but I don't think we will ever truly feel the, oh my god, the title is in danger, or the title reign is in danger, until SummerSlam, which on the one hand is awesome, because it makes Lesnar feel like a beast. On the other hand, it makes the main events of any pay-per-view before then feel cheap. The one thing that nobody's really mentioned that I would like to see, honestly, somewhere in the middle, is for Rollins to go up against Bray Wyatt. I don't know how they would work it, because you can't turn Bray Wyatt fully face, and Rollins is definitely heel, but I'm pretty sure we could get around that somehow. I mean, you've got New Day versus Kid and Cesaro right now, and none of the people in that scenario are completely face, so they could get around it. Shield triple threat for the belt could be something fun after SummerSlam if Rollins beats Lesnar. If Rollins beats Lesnar, he's fucking set. Let's be clear on that. But if Rollins beats Lesnar, there's no way that he's going to go into a Shield triple threat match and lose. The whole idea being that, Brock Lesnar's being sold on the fact that he beat Triple H, he beat Cena, he retired The Undertaker, he got the title, nobody could defeat him. The only reason he's not champion anymore is because Rollins cashed in on Reigns. There's no way you're going to have Rollins defeat Brock Lesnar and then get beaten by Roman Reigns. It's not going to happen. Or, in my opinion, it's not going to happen anyway. Weston Flores, short, sweet, and to the point. I pick Randy Orton after all he did pin Seth Rollins. To what I said before, it happened in the same night. It happened in reverse order. But if Orton's win over Rollins had happened the next night on Raw, he would be dead set the #1 contender. And he won the #1 contenders match, which was lame because Ryback was involved. But whatever. ABJ504 says, I honestly don't want any of them to get a title shot, but if I had to choose, I'd pick Brock. I hated the Reigns storyline, and the story with Orton was over 2 weeks before WrestleMania. Brock hadn't gotten pinned or submitted to lose the title, so he should get a shot. Yeah. I did limit this question. I will admit that. I did limit this question to 3 guys that have already interacted with Rollins a lot, and it sort of took out the opportunity for him to interact with new people. But that was kind of by design. These were the 3 people that were mainstays in line for the belt. So out of those 3, you pick Brock Lesnar. Obviously, now I want to see Seth Rollins interact with new people. Obviously, I mean, we see how well he did. He was Neville's second match on the main roster, and that match was fucking phenomenal. Give it a couple years, give a little bit more build to Neville. I wouldn't mind seeing that again, honestly. I don't know. It is a little bit of lather, rinse, repeat. Brock Lesnar is not anything new in the title picture. Randy Orton is not anything new in the title picture. Roman Reigns is, but we're not allowed to like Roman Reigns right now. And Seth Rollins as the champion is something new. So it does balance out. Or at least I believe it balances out. And the last one, Abel Herrera from Puitov. Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook, which you guys should all check out on Facebook. Brock Lesnar has the highest title claim. Lesnar was not pinned at the Triple Threat match at WrestleMania, and yes, he has a rematch clause. Since Brock Lesnar is suspended, Orton has the second highest claim. Orton hasn't received a one-on-one title rematch for the WWE title since he lost at WrestleMania 30. Awesome point. Very, very awesome point. But the person that he won the title, the person that won the title off of him isn't the title carrier anymore, so I don't know how well that rematch clause fits in, but it's, again, an amazing point, which puts him just behind Lesnar. Roman Reigns is below Orton because he was pinned at WrestleMania by Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns doesn't have any sort of rematch clause from losing that title shot against Lesnar. Roman Reigns does not have any sort of rematch clause from losing that title like Lesnar and Orton do. If Reigns were to beat Orton, he could jump ahead of Orton in the contenders list. It'd be cool if Lesnar actually competed on Raw. I mean, you know, obvious things are obvious. The triple threat match to determine the new #1 contender in a perfect world would have been Orton versus Reigns versus Lesnar, wouldn't it? And we wouldn't have had to have this discussion at all. But being that that's not the case, they threw Brock Lesnar out of the equation. It should have just been Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. I don't know why they felt the need to throw Ryback in the mix. That's just strange. But, yeah. Everybody basically says Brock Lesnar because he has the rematch clause, and people don't like Reigns, and Orton's old news, and rah-de-rah-de-rah. But, yeah, this is good. I like this. You guys know I've been dealing with voice issues for a while, so I'm not as excited as I would like to be, but this is friggin' great, guys. If this is any indication of how the monthly fan interaction is going to go, then this is the new format that I'm going to use. I love that you guys bring far more to your answers than I bring to my questions. That's always a great contributing factor, and this has been a lot of fun. Personally, I would love Roman Reigns to get another shot at the title. I would love Roman Reigns to have a shot at the title, one-on-one legit. There is existing storyline between Rollins and Reigns. I'm not saying that he's my first choice by any stretch of the imagination, much like I said at Rumble, much like I said at Mania. Roman Reigns is not my first choice. But I do believe that he deserves to be in the title picture. I do believe he deserves to be in the title conversation. But then, again, as, who was it? As Logan says, there's other people that deserve to be in that conversation that aren't even close to it, like an Ambrose, like a Dolph Ziggler, like a Bray Wyatt. Now, I will come out and freely say all those guys should be involved in the title picture, but so should Roman Reigns. At somewhere along the way, before we get to SummerSlam, I know we're going to see Reigns versus Rollins, and I would really like to see what Reigns can do in that regard, because whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Roman Reigns did better at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar than I think anybody wants to admit, and that's kind of unfortunate. any combination of any of these guys is going to be fantastic moving forward. The title situation in general is going to be great moving forward. This has been fun. I have been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.